Hearty good evening to everyone tonight. Thanks so much for being here. This is the City of Sioux Falls City Council meeting, and today is Monday, March 7th. We'd like to thank you all for being here. Let's start with today's meeting by identifying the city councilors who are here tonight with a roll call.
Council members Rolfing.
Here.
Aguilar. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here.
Erpenbach. Here. Jameson.
Here. Thank you, City Council. We do have a quorum. We can conduct the city's business. I'd like to welcome Pastor Jeremiah Johnson. He's from the First Assembly of God Christian Center here in Sioux Falls. Pastor Johnson will give us a prayer to start off, and then what we'd like you to do is remain standing, please, and then we'll give the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Johnson, welcome.
Let's pray. Lord, tonight we just want to come and start by saying thank you. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. God, we say thank you for the opportunity tonight to be leaders in this city of Sioux Falls. And we come tonight asking and seeking for your wisdom. The Word of God says, but where, oh where will they find wisdom? Where does insight hide? Mortals don't have a clue, haven't the slightest idea where to look. Earth's depths say, it's not here. Ocean deeps echo, never heard of it. It can't be bought with the finest gold. No amount of silver can get it. Even famous offer, gold can't buy it. Not even diamonds and sapphires, neither gold nor emeralds are comparable. Extravagant jewelry can't touch it. Pearl necklaces and ruby bracelets, why bother? None of this is even a down payment on wisdom. Pile gold and African diamonds as high as you will. They can't hold a candle to wisdom. God alone knows the way to wisdom. He knows the exact place to find it. He knows where everything is on earth. He sees everything under heaven. After he commanded the winds to blow and measured out the waters, arranged for the rain and set off explosions of thunder and lightning, he focused on wisdom, made sure it was all set and tested and ready. Then he addressed the human race. Here it is, fear of the Lord. That's wisdom, and insight means shunning evil. Tonight we need your wisdom. God, you have called and appointed us in this place to be leaders in this time, in this place, in this city. And we need your wisdom, God, that we may do what it is that you desire to do, and that we might be effective leaders in this area. And we ask tonight in the midst of that you would bring unity to our city and to our leadership. For your word says how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. I pray your blessing upon each that has gathered here, our city, and these leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We do have Elizabeth Stella here tonight, who is going to have some recognition for our great city, and along with Chief Barthel. If you'd come forward, please. Chief, you want to hand it over to you or to Elizabeth? Elizabeth, hi. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So nice to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you. Yes, please do. Thank you. Okay. Well, good evening, Sioux Falls Mayor, Mike Huther, Police Chief Doug Barthel, Fire Chief Don Hill, and Sioux Falls City Council members, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here tonight on behalf of Farmers Insurance to present a special award to the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We live in a fast-paced, fast-changing society, and 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago, our way of life changed forever with the tragedy on 9/11/2001. Since that time, we have all become more acutely aware of the security of the communities in which we work, live, and raise our families. And we rely heavily upon police and fire departments, emergency services, transportation departments, and city and county officials to help keep our communities safe and secure. 7 years ago, Farmers Insurance commissioned Bert Sperling of Sperling's Best Places to Live to conduct surveys to find the most secure U.S. cities. And we'd like to show you a video now to show you a little bit more about the survey.
Health, prosperity, safety, and security are all desirable aspects when it comes to seeking a place to live, to work, or to raise a family. According to the Farmers Insurance Group of Companies' 2010 annual survey of the most secure U.S. places to live, Sioux Falls, South Dakota is ranked as one of the most secure mid-sized cities in the United States. Population over 150,000 to 500,000 to live in. The rankings compiled by database experts at Best Places to Live, Inc. took into consideration crime statistics, extreme weather, risk of natural disasters, environmental hazards, terrorism threats, air quality, life expectancy, and job loss numbers in 379 U.S. municipalities, and divided the communities into 3 groups: large metropolitan areas, mid-sized cities, and small towns. The city of Sioux Falls has much to be proud of, perhaps beginning with the beautiful falls which are its namesake and are fed by the Big Sioux River. From its earliest beginnings prior to the Civil War in 1856, when a handful of hardy pioneers staked out claims on the banks of the Big Sioux River, Sioux Falls has been moving forward, having become a city in March of 1889 with a population of about 2,100 people. Today, the city of Sioux Falls has a population just over 158,000 people and over 238,000 throughout the metropolitan area. While set in one of the most fertile agricultural parts of the nation and being home to one of the world's largest stockyards, Sioux Falls has also become a hub for myriad other industries and businesses, from financial to healthcare services, as well as being recognized as the largest retail center between Denver and Minneapolis-St. Paul. As such, approximately 14 million shoppers are attracted annually from throughout the state, as well as from Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska, supporting approximately 3,228 retail outlets and employing 20% of the Sioux Falls labor force. Their extremely clean air and the long life expectancy of their residents helped Sioux Falls earn this outstanding mid-sized city's recognition. Farmers Insurance congratulates Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as well as their local government departments and their citizens for a great job keeping their cities secure.
So again, as the video says, congratulations on having such a wonderful place to live. And I'd like to, at this time, recognize the farmers agents and district manager and employees who are here tonight, who all live and work here in Sioux Falls and are proud to be such a part of such a thriving community. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Could we get a photo and then we can join the agents?
Sure. Cub Scouts, you want to get in the picture too? Come on in. Elizabeth, again, thank you so much for recognizing Sioux Falls for the community that it is and the the incredibly safe community that it is. We certainly appreciate it. We'd also like to recognize another group here tonight I had the esteemed pleasure of taking a question and answer session from this powerful young group of men. They are Cub Scout Pack 711 from Harrisburg Journey Elementary, and Michael Cole is the scout leader. And the questions were tough, but I handled at least most of them. And if I could have these young men stand up and be recognized along with their leaders, I'd appreciate it. And just while you know, we took our pictures before the meeting, so we'll say that. But well, again, thank you, and welcome to all of you here tonight. It's a great crowd, and we certainly appreciate you wanting to know what's going on with your city, and I know the City Council certainly appreciates it as well. We will move on with the city's business, starting with the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Moved, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Could I have a motion to approve tonight's regular agenda?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Erpenbach has made a motion to approve. It was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Aguilar.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the main motion and regular agenda by adding an item 27 as read by the Assistant City Clerk.
27, special one-day malt beverage license for the Siouxland Heritage Museums to be operated at the Old Courthouse Museum, 200 West 6th Street on March 17, 2011 for the St. Patrick's Day Family Dance, and authorize publication of notice on 3/4/11 and set the hearing date.
Brown seconds.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to amend the regular agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion? Could we vote on the amendment, please?
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Is there any further discussion? Could we have a vote on now the amended agenda?
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
That is also passed 7-0. Thank you. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to come up and speak to the City Council. We certainly welcome that. What we'd ask you to do is just come forward. Please state your name for the record. And we'd ask you also, if you could, to keep it to 5 minutes in length. And just please realize it's not a question and answer session. It's an opportunity for you to engage the council with your words of wisdom. Would somebody like to come forward, please? Welcome. Sure, if you could just state your name.
Thomas Lean. I live at 308 North Holiday Avenue, City of Sioux Falls. I'd like to thank the mayor and the councilors for allowing me the time to come before you and speak to you this evening. I was at the earlier informational meeting, and I got to commend all of you for wanting public input on a hot topic, the event center. And this has become quite a hot topic, I think, with the folks that I come day to day with, in contact with. As we all see and have seen over the last couple of years, the economy has taken a turn for the worse. And it used to be where it was annually, then it became monthly, now it's become weekly, where you turn on the news every night and something's changed. The gas is approaching $4 a gallon. This summer it's anticipated to go up to $5 a gallon. If gas prices are anything like taxes, they're not going to come down much more once they get up there. With the new event center, from the numbers I've been hearing, $100 million, I think I could take a lot of burden off of you folks. I know we've elected you to these positions, but I think for the money that's being allocated right now in planning for this event center could be easily saved for the taxpayers, and have the mayor authorize a special election, which will cost about $45,000 to $50,000. we need to ask two questions and two questions only. Number one is, does the public want it? Number two, do they want it downtown or do they want it out at the arena? Those two questions are all that need to be asked. If the first one doesn't pass, the other two are moot issues. I think with the federal funding that Sioux Falls has lost and the area for the Lewis and Clark project for the water, I think that should be our number one priority right now is the water. I don't think we can support the Field of Dreams event center at this time because of the economy. I don't see where the economy is going to be getting much better to where we're going to be able to support this as a community. I think with the $4 and $5 that they're talking per gallon for gas, I don't think people are going to be coming from miles around to attend this event center. Thank you.
Mr. Lane, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council tonight? Welcome.
Tim Stanga. You know, when I went to the 4 o'clock meeting, we were talking about Robert's rules. I wish somebody had explained that to me because I sure in heck don't know what you're talking about. And I know the people out here don't know what you're talking about either. So I guess the thing is a lot of people out there are frustrated on, they don't understand what's being said in here because you guys say it in a different language than what we understand it to be. And I think a lot of people out there would like you to explain a little bit more into what you're talking about. People are frustrated outside of not knowing enough on what's going on the event center. I had a young man, well, not a young man, but an older gentleman I sat down with today. And he asked me, he says, Tim, he says, how come we don't have an advertising tax in South Dakota? And I told him, I said, I'm going to ask the city council and the mayor, one, I know it's an issue up in Pierre, but why can't we take the first foot and put forward to try to get an advertising tax in South Dakota or to generate extra income to be able to put towards an entertainment center or whatever we can generate money for. But I just look at it as we pay taxes on gas, we pay taxes on milk, and advertising tax sounds pretty good. So I don't know where we're sitting at, but something to put your foot forward and try to do what you can do to generate money. That's it.
Mr. Tenga, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council tonight? Sir, welcome.
We've got 2 kids under 3, so right after I speak, I'm going home. So,
could you just state your name,
sure.
Please?
Andy Traub.
Thanks, Andy.
Sure. I actually don't want to talk about the location of the event center. I would like to talk more about something I think that's more important, which is the process. As we've all watched the news, I think we can appreciate the process that we have here where I get to speak and you get to speak versus, living in a country where we don't have that opportunity. So I want what I say to be heard with care because it's not a personal issue. It's a political one. But the great thing about a good process is that there's nothing to hide. There's no reason to not answer questions. And good processes are transparent, which makes them easy to understand. He was referencing things easy to understand. But bad processes are vague, and people get concerned because they see mystery. And where they see mystery, they get fear. And I think I want us all to make an informed decision. But you all have been elected to speak for us. And I really think the city council needs to represent us a little stronger in that I think that the mayor's office needs some more accountability in this area. I know 3 separate citizens in the last 2 weeks that have asked for information from the mayor's office, and their reply was nothing. They got no response whatsoever. And it was the same information they were looking for. And I know that we've seen the scores for the parking for the downtown area. And my concern is that during that press conference, the person who represented that we hired said that the city had provided them metrics. And that's what those individuals were actually requesting is what's the score for that? You know, when I failed Spanish my freshman year, I know why. Because I didn't do very well. They had a metric. And I really feel like it's like my son deciding his punishment after he pushes his sister. He doesn't get to decide the punishment. I do. I'm the authority. And I just don't know who the authority is, who's providing the metric. Because I appreciate the mayor's leadership that you've chosen to cite, and you said we wanted to go out at the arena. I appreciate that. But then to provide the measuring stick for which we measure other things, I think I just don't think that's what we're paying all that money for. So I have a couple questions for the City Council. I know it's not a question and answer time, so I'll do the questions and you can answer it later if that's how we have to do it. But I would love for us to be able to answer with 100% confidence these questions, which is who provides the metrics of measurements for the things that they measure. The downtown, for instance, got 4 out of 10 for parking. Why? How much weight was to distance walking, amount of spaces? We don't know that. Was it the mayor who offered the metrics? Not the mayor, you've got a staff. Or was it the consultants? Or was it both? Who decides the final location and by what metrics? Who decides? If downtown loses on parking but gains on money, what's the metric? The third, and I only have 4, is who will decide the issue when the issue comes? Will the experts tell us the location and then we vote? Will the City Council vote? We don't know. And lastly, I have a question why we approve so much money and yet these big decision points aren't clear. I trust the City Council, I really do. I trust the balance of the opinions. I trust that you represent our community. At the same time, I feel like we're in the middle of a process and we don't know how it ends, and that's kind of scary to me. You know, when you're sitting at a poker table and you don't know who the sucker is, it might be you. And I'm not calling you suckers, by the way, because I don't play poker because I played once and I was the sucker. But my concern is when we don't know the answer to these questions, that means we're uninformed. And I want us to all be really confident. I know the mayor wants us to be confident in this decision. I really appreciated, Mr. Mayor, what you said at the last press conference, which is we don't want to build a loser. You know, that would be a major mark on our city. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. But I want to just urge our community, this is actually bigger than a $100 million decision. It's bigger than a 3-year decision. This is a decision that actually will affect my children more than it will affect me, and I'm a pretty young guy. And so I just hope that people will stop saying trust the process and explain the process. Those are processes I trust in. And I'm open to private conversations. I don't want this to be a public call out by any means. I don't think that's mature to do that. But I appreciate knowing the answer to these questions. I appreciate your service, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Traub, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak about any topic? Well, very good. I'd like again to thank you all, and like to thank the 3 folks who came to the podium to speak tonight. I know the City Council certainly appreciates it, and I do as well. Moving on to item number 13.
New 2010 packaged malt beverage license for Kohl's Petroleum Products, Inc., named to be determined to be operated at 900 North Sycamore Avenue with the conditional use permit 2011-0105 being approved on 2/2/11. 14. New 2010 packaged malt beverage license for Olson Oil Company, Get and Go, number 21, to be operated at 5400 East Arrowhead Parkway. 15, special one-day liquor license for Washington Pavilion Management, Inc., Washington Pavilion of Arts and Science, 301 South Main Avenue for the Arts Night Gala on May 6, 2011. 16, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine license for Sisters of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary to be operated at Falls Park Drive for the Cinco de Mayo celebration on April 30th, 2011. 17, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society to be operated at Landscape Garden Center, 7201 South Minnesota Avenue, for the Pause to Celebrate fundraiser on June 18, 2011. 18, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society to be operated at Yankton Trail Park, 3901 South Minnesota Avenue on July 14 through 16, 2011 for the Jazz Fest and on June 16, 2011 at Vern ID Acura, 4030 South Grange Avenue for the Jazz and Brews fundraiser.
Thank you, Jamie. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office here for items 13 through 18. We have 2 requests for new packaged malt beverage licenses, and the remaining 4 are for special one-day licenses for special events. I can certainly answer questions on items 13 through 18.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
On 13, how close is that to Washington High School?
It was close enough that they had to go through the conditional use permit process, so that would have been less than 500 feet. I couldn't tell you the exact distance, but it would have been less than 500 feet. And they did go through that process in February.
Do they own any other businesses that have package
Not in
alcohol,
Sioux
or-
Falls. I could certainly have, I have Justin Cole here from Cole's Petroleum, and he could certainly address that if you'd like.
I'd like that, please.
Okay. Justin?
Guess what I'm looking for is maybe give us a little insight on your security plan, how you plan on IDing, things like that. We've had problems in the past with some of those things and being so close to a school.
Sure. Yep. We did have a security plan that we worked with the police department, and we went through that process. And as we move forward here, we plan on opening up sometime in the middle of April, and I plan on working with Greg Schmidt. I believe it's Greg. A little bit closer as far as training, not only myself, but all of our employees. Moving forward with that. So we don't have any convenience stores that we run right now. We're in the petroleum business, and we've always been associated with convenience stores and worked pretty close with them, but we haven't managed any of them ourselves yet. But this one will be the first one. So I do plan on working real close with the police department and myself. I'll be kind of heading it up as it gets open. So,
have you looked into any electronic measures to try to curtail any underage sales?
Yep, I met with a gentleman last week actually, looking at some different security cameras and stuff to install in the store. Make sure we cover the whole store from the back, coolers, kitchen area, and then also the inside of the store to make sure that's fully covered. So yes, we have looked at that, and I think the next biggest thing is like I was talking about is moving forward with training and working closely with the police department.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Thank you very much. Lori, do you have any? Yeah, please.
Yeah, Dave Loveland reminded me that Washington High is actually 900 feet away, but it was the Children's Home Society that prompted the conditional use permit. That was within 500 feet. And that is a school as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to any of these items tonight before the City Council makes a motion? Very good. City Council, any questions, comments, motions?
Move to approve Entenmann.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve these items. It was seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Thank you, Lori. Item number 19.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising the definition of commercial vehicles and adding a definition for service vehicles. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening, Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. We have a proposed amendment to the city zoning ordinance that has been recommended for approval by the City Planning Commission. And this pertains to the parking of certain types of vehicles within residential neighborhoods. The current ordinance that we've had in place since the 1980s defines commercial vehicles primarily by a provision that if there's more than 16 square feet of signage on that vehicle, it would not be allowed to be parked in a residential neighborhood. And as I said, we've had that ordinance in place for quite a few years. We were asked by city council members to consider looking at an amendment to this requirement for a couple of reasons. What we found over the years is that there are more uses of what we would call service vehicles by contractors, by small business people to serve the neighborhoods, as well as employees that drive these vehicles and take them home, and also use them for personal passenger vehicles. So what we did is we went through and looked at other city ordinances to try to come up with maybe a different way of providing for the ability to park certain types of vehicles in residential neighborhoods that would meet the current demand of more of a service vehicle, but yet not take it to the extent that it would allow larger types of vehicles that would continue to be defined as commercial. So this amendment does two things. First of all, it eliminates the definition, it changes the definition of a commercial vehicle by deleting the 16 square feet of signage. And then it creates a new definition of service vehicle, which is defined as any vehicle built or assembled for personal passenger use that incorporates attachments in order to support service functions. A service vehicle is utilized as support for service and is not utilized to perform a specific commercial function. Whenever we are trying to write an ordinance to define something that either you can or cannot do, one of the things that we try to do is graphically describe the intent of that ordinance. And so as we took this through the City Planning Commission, we showed some exhibits of what we're trying to define or accomplish with this proposed amendment. And so up on the screen, I'll go through quickly. In the upper left-hand corner is a vehicle that currently would be allowed to be parked in a residential neighborhood. In the lower right-hand corner is that same vehicle with attachments or modifications that under the existing zoning ordinance would not be allowed, but under the proposed amendment would be allowed to be parked in a residential neighborhood. Again, another example of a van in the upper left-hand corner is currently allowed to be parked. And the lower right-hand corner shows you a modification that's pretty typical of vans that would be used by various businesses in the community, either to serve neighborhoods or for their employees to park. And again, under the current ordinance, that modified van would not be allowed to be parked, but under the proposed amendment, it would be. This pickup truck, because of the modifications, could be potentially defined currently as a commercial vehicle, but this would be allowed. And this, again, this pickup truck would be allowed. As well as this pickup truck, and again, this is one of the extreme examples of signage. This would exceed the 16 square feet of signage, but as we've looked at other cities, nobody that we ran across used that signage as a way of defining commercial vehicles. It was more the physical makeup of the vehicle. And so again, as we look at how we would change the definition of commercial vehicles, we have some examples visually. The large pickup trucks with the major modifications, these would not be allowed either currently or with the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance. So we're trying to strike, again, a compromise based on research of what other cities are doing and what we think we typically would find in some of the residential neighborhoods. both in terms of service vehicles that would be going in and out of these neighborhoods, as well as the type of vehicles that people might be using not only for their businesses but also for their personal needs. We have received one letter in support of the proposed amendment from the Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire, and we have also received one letter in opposition to this from one of our local citizens expressing concerns about opening up more commercial-looking vehicles in residential areas, primarily from an aesthetic point of view. So those are the two inputs that we've received up to this point. And again, the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance have been recommended for approval by the City Planning Commission. Any questions that you might have?
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item before we go to the City Council? Yes, sir. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Welcome.
Dan Nelson, representing Mid-Continent Communications. We're here tonight in support of this item. We think the incorporation of service vehicles into giving greater latitude to what can be parked in a residential area is a common sense approach. We did appear at the Planning Commission, and I did communicate with council members. I apologize. I should have sent Mr. Cooper a letter, apparently, from the recounting of who he heard from. He didn't hear from us. But we are in support nevertheless. And the reasons that I expressed to the council members, I'll repeat. In the times that we're in, allowing us to have people in charge of these trucks during the week saves fuel. We don't have a person commuting to a central location to pick up a service vehicle and then starting their workday. They leave their house and start their workday. We believe that's a benefit to the city from a traffic congestion standpoint as well. We also know that providing that vehicle in support of the working men and women at Mid-Continent is an important benefit. We reduce the wear and tear on personal vehicles, or perhaps in some cases even the need for another personal vehicle within a family, and that's a benefit to our workers. So we believe that this approach is a small modification that makes common sense. And something that I like to point out to the council in other interactions that I've had with you, this came up through a process that was very well reasoned. There was input taken. The opportunity for differing views was there. And there's nothing to say that if we're down the road a ways and this does create consternation among the citizens, that we can't do the same process again and change it. So I would invite you to support this common sense change, but also to keep an eye on it. And if further modifications are needed in the future, on behalf of my company, I'm happy to say that we'd love to be part of that process. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to this? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Todd Anowski with the Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire. Our association has had a chance to review the revised ordinance before you, and we're in support of it. We'd also like to thank the members of the Land Use Commission for looking over the issue, as well as the members of the Planning Commission. So with that, we encourage your support.
Thank you, Todd. Folks, anybody else? Mr. Stingo?
Yes, I just got one question. And I know you probably answered, but if a guy has a concrete company, business, and let's say he lets his employee drive that vehicle home, how long can it sit at that property, or is he going to be allowed to take it home at night and then be able to use it during the day to go from one job to the next? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Stenger, could you be a bit more specific in terms of that vehicle with the concrete company?
If you go back on the slide, it has a truck with a trailer on it.
Okay.
Keep going, right there. Let's say that that guy pours concrete during the day, and his employer says, well, I'd rather have you take the truck home with you so you can go to your next job in the morning. Is he going to be able to take that truck home and to be able to park it in front of his house and then take it during the day, or does he have to find some place to put that truck and then drive to the vehicle? I mean, it's sort of a catch-22, but I look at it as, I don't know, maybe we're looking at it different than I am, but I mean, this guy right here driving this truck, the concrete guy wants to save money too.
Sure.
So,
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah. This example that's up on the screen is currently not allowed to be parked, and it will not be allowed to be parked with the proposed amendments. I think the key guidelines that we looked at was we can have vehicles that are modified, but they still typically could be parked in people's garages or parked on their driveway. The size of the vehicle in this case could potentially be a problem, and I like to say, we always have to draw the line somewhere. So we still want to have some limitations on commercial vehicles. This example, the employee would not be allowed to take it home at night.
Mr. Cooper, if it was not attached, if the trailer was not attached to the truck, would the truck, the white truck, be allowed to park?
In this case, that would still not meet the definition.
And could you explain why?
Again, the commercial vehicle is defined, or would be defined, as any vehicle which is adapted, designed, equipped, and used to perform a specific commercial function, and which does not meet the definition of a personal passenger vehicle. In this case, a concrete truck or a vehicle that's more specifically built and used just for commercial purposes. This is a vehicle that you would not typically drive around for shopping or for recreation, as opposed to some of the smaller ones that we have up there.
Councilor Brown.
But they could park it in their garage, correct?
This vehicle, I don't know that you could put it in somebody's garage, no. Again, there's going to be, everybody's going to have a question about exceptions and what you can and can't do. We're trying to clarify it as best we can, and as Mr. Nelson said earlier, we're going to try it out and see how it goes.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mike, how is this ordinance enforced? Is it by complaint, drive-by? How do we enforce this ordinance as it sits right now?
Both complaint and if we notice a vehicle that is, it's easily to define that it doesn't meet the ordinance. I think the biggest issue that brought this to our attention was the number of employees that, again, we go back to the examples of the ones that you can do. I'll just use that one. Employees that would be driving these kind of vehicles, and I have, in my neighborhood, I have people that work for plumbing contractors that have a van with more than 16 square feet of signage on it. So currently they're not supposed to park it in a residential area, but yet that van will fit easily into their garage.
I remember a couple of years ago we had a little issue with our wheelchair transports too, our private companies. Would they be able to park, their employees be able to take those vans home, or is that going to be strictly commercial?
That would continue to be defined as commercial, yep.
Councilor Jameson.
Mike, I just wanted to make sure I heard it right on the question that Councilor Brown asked. If the individual could fit that vehicle in their garage, if they could fit it in there, they'd still be allowed to put it in there.
No. If it doesn't meet the definition of a service vehicle, it cannot be parked in a residential neighborhood. And that's what we thought was the direction of what this ordinance was trying to accomplish.
I would maybe, just for discussion, I would certainly think that if somebody, certainly you did what you were asked to do, Mike. Yep. I understand that. I would just urge through the council that if somebody could fit a concrete mixing truck, garbage truck, in their garage or in a shed that's enclosed, private property like that, without being seen by their neighbors, I think you eliminate, the issue of bringing a commercial vehicle home. But maybe at another juncture here, I would urge us to address that. I mean, out of sight is, I think, our biggest goal, but I didn't think about that part of this whole discussion.
Councilor Urbanbach?
I would just add that size of garage very likely isn't going to fit the zoning requirements in residential neighborhoods. Garages in my neighborhood, you wouldn't be able to park a cement truck in them, and anything bigger than what's there isn't going to fit the zoning requirements.
Okay, very good. And I would say that there are going to be exceptions, and we surely wouldn't want to eliminate somebody just because most likely they don't fit. But if there's an opportunity and somebody bought a home for that purpose, because it had a nice, large, attached, big garage, that we shouldn't eliminate their opportunity to use that as they
agreed.
desire.
Councilor Entman.
Just to throw out another question for you here, Mike. If a person were to build a garage, that truck that, as an example, if a person has a garage on his house, or if he wanted to build a garage and that truck fit in there, does he have to have any special, in order to build a garage that size? I know I've seen some double garages that would accommodate a truck that was shown here. Not a cement truck, of course, not a full-blown commercial truck, but a truck like that was shown in this picture that would accommodate, I know, a couple of garages. In fact, I know there's a house in my neighborhood, and I pass by it fairly often, that's got a commercial-sized garage door on it. I think he parks his motorhome in there. And it's out of sight, out of mind. And it's a story-and-a-half house. The garage fits in there, and I'm sure he had a building permit to do that.
And we'll be talking about RVs in the next item. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, isn't this sweet, Mike? Isn't this sweet?
Again, I think what we've tried to accomplish was reaching out to the main concern, which is the parking of the smaller vehicles in residential neighborhoods. But the ordinance is still clear that, and I'll just read it, except and this is under the definition of commercial vehicles, except in conjunction with a legal non-conforming business, which is a business that doesn't currently meet the ordinance but is grandfathered in, except in conjunction with that situation, it is unlawful for any person to park, store, leave, or permit the parking, storage of any commercial vehicle in these residential zoning districts. And that's been in the books, for a long time. So,
Councilor Hammond?
We're trying to eliminate the mixing of commercial and residential vehicles in these neighborhoods.
I do believe that Mike and the department's efforts to clean this up has really been worked well. I did have a number of constituents who did complain because they'd received some citations about their service trucks, and in good faith, they're not parking them there for an extended period of time. They're just driving them home to answer service calls at night, and then they leave to go back to work. I think with the signs that we have, I don't think that there's any intent on the people that I've talked to really abuse this, and I do believe the ordinance as it is written is written in a way to handle the abuses of this, and I know the citizens of this city will not allow those abuses to take place. I guess I'm satisfied with the way it's written now. If there is a problem with it, I guess maybe we can take and clean it up a little bit, but this, in good effort, I think, is made to address some of the questions that we had that did come before me, and I'm ready to act on this.
Councilor Hammond, would you like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second, Urbanbach.
Seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Is there any further discussion, City Council?
I would like to make one more comment.
Councilor Urbanbach.
Something that came to me, because I started out on the other side of this. I started out against this ordinance. Something that has come to me over this period of time is that there's a small business owner down the street from me who owns his It's a business vehicle. Obviously, it's just a small SUV, but he has one of those advertising skins on it. And I've lived 5 houses from this for 4 years now and hadn't realized that he was in violation of the ordinance this whole time. It is not offensive to me. It is not, blatant. It's not a huge, ugly vehicle. And the thing that we have to understand is that small businesses in this town are a huge part of our economy. And by doing this with his vehicle, I know that he's getting some tax advantages, and we are helping out those small business owners that are able to use their vehicles for advertising purposes in that way. I think that we need to pass this, that we need to make those folks in compliance.
Hearing no further discussion, if we could have a vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item number 20.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city to revise residential parking to allow for temporary parking for recreational vehicles. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is another proposed change to the city zoning ordinance that addresses parking of vehicles in residential neighborhoods. We've discussed this in the past about RV parking, and currently our zoning ordinance does not allow the parking of RVs in people's driveways. And that has come up off and on over the years about, is that reasonable? Is it not reasonable? This is another one that we were asked to take a look at and work through the Land Use Committee. And again, the proposal that has come forward to you tonight with City Planning Commission recommendation is that we would amend the exceptions for parking RVs in residential neighborhoods by adding a provision that one recreational motor vehicle can be parked temporarily for a period of less than 48 hours for customary cleaning and loading. And again, we've tried to come up with visuals. This is an example of currently, if somebody owns a motorhome, they can park it in a required side yard on a concrete pad, and it has to be at least 5 feet from the side property line. This is an example of currently what would be legal for parking. When we went through the Planning Commission, we showed examples of, with the proposed amendment, that there would still be limitations on parking of RVs. And we wanted to show this again, that the reason that this RV would not be allowed is because it encroaches across the sidewalk. And so again, we talked about a typical front yard setback could be 25 to 27 feet from the property line or from the sidewalk. And so if you have an RV that's longer than that, you would still not be able to park it in that driveway. If your house is further back off the front property line, then you would not have a problem. So even with this proposed amendment, you could not extend over the sidewalk. This is another example of illegal parking now and in the future. In this case, they've encroached the RV over into a portion of the required side yard, unlike the first example that we showed. So we are recommending this change to try it out. But again, there are still going to be restrictions on where you can and cannot park the RVs. I was asked to research some of the complaints that we've received the last couple of years. In 2009, there were a total of 34 violations that we cited for illegal parking of RVs. And in 2010, that number jumped up to 172 violations. And primarily because of the public awareness that was brought out that we needed to go out and look into these neighborhoods where there were complaints about parking. And we typically would find that if one person was in violation, that other neighbors might be doing the same thing. So we just became more aggressive in the enforcement. So again, in 2009, there were 34 violations of illegal parking of RVs, and last year it jumped up to 172. This is another one that is typically enforced by complaint, but we are, starting last year, we have been more aggressive in the drive-by enforcement as well. So I think as we discussed, kind of a middle-of-the-road compromise to try this out and allow this for the 48 hours and just see how it will work within these different neighborhoods.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Welcome, sir.
My name's Myron First, 504 Alder Lane. I'd like to just add another situation there. I became one of those 34 in 2009, kind of unknowingly, and I sent an explanation to all the council members and to the mayor, and I want the public to know that I got an answer from every one of them, so I appreciate that. In 2009, my dad was diagnosed with ALS disease, so I was making a trip to Mitchell and back, bringing him to the VA hospital, and it became my responsibility to get rid of his motorhome that he had. He was in a nursing home already and couldn't deal with it, so I had to deal with it. It needed some repair, needed physical repair on the outside and on the inside. It needed to be cleaned. It had been sitting out on the farm. It needed to be cleaned. When you work for a living, you got nights and weekends. It's the only time you can work on that stuff. And I parked that out in front of my house. And while I was working on that thing, it took me like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, until I finally got everything done. Well, I sold it. A guy from Worthington came and bought it, but he was having a CD maturing on July 3. And he didn't want to take that out and lose his income and pay a penalty. I said, that's not a problem. Well, I had to take my dad to I had to go to Mitchell, get my dad, bring him Sioux Falls, and take him back home. While I was in Mitchell, the guy called and said, on July 3, can I come and pick up the motorhome today? I said, I'll be back at Sioux Falls at 4 o'clock. You can come then. When I got home from Mitchell, there was a ticket on the windshield, and it said I was in violation because it was 24 feet and I could only park 22 feet. I said, well, I should have backed it into a tree and pushed that bumper back a couple of feet and I'd have been legal. But my question is, where in the world should I have put that thing? I can't run back and forth to Mitchell to show that motorhome when somebody is interested in buying it. Where am I going to put it to work on it? I have a slope. The back yard to the front of to the street is a 6-foot slope or a 6-foot drop. Therefore, my driveway is such that I can't park it in my driveway. What would you suggest I do with that thing to fix it? What I'd like to see available is a temporary permit issued by somebody, police department or whoever, that allows me more than 48 hours. I couldn't get that done in 48 hours. Allows me some time. I hope I'm never in that situation again. I probably won't be. I shouldn't be. But somebody else might be. So what provision is there to allow somebody a temporary situation, and he got it out of there the same day I got the ticket. And I came down I had to postpone the hearing that I was supposed to be at because he died. I had to go to the funeral. And I came back later, about 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it was, and they asked if I was representing my dad because it had a Davidson County license plate on. That was the other thing. They said you can't have it for sale more than 50 feet from your property. Well, Davidson County is more than 50 feet from my house is farther than that. So while I was working on it, I put a for sale sign in the front and the back windows, and I found out that was a violation also. But I thought, well, maybe somebody will drive by and buy it. Well, so I violated it 2 ways, and unknowingly. Kind of ignorance is my fault, I guess. But I violated that 2 ways. I'd like to have some kind of provision where a temporary thing could be issued so that in that kind of a situation. And maybe that doesn't happen very often, but right now there's no provision for that. My own, I've got a pull-type trailer, and sometimes we've come home late. We've been camping or on a trip, come home late, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and I don't want to clean the shampoo carpets and so on, so I leave it out there in front of the yard, and the next day I got to go to work. And then I come home that night and maybe get it unloaded and cleaned up, and then I have to take it to storage because I can't park it in front of my house or beside or behind. And sometimes it's taken us a couple of days because the next night I got to go to a meeting or something.
Ms. Fierce, thank you.
So,
Thank
sorry.
you. Mr. Cooper, could you succinctly answer that question?
Again, I'm going to repeat my comment from the earlier item that whenever we're writing ordinances that regulate things you can or cannot do, it's hard to come up with one standard that's going to fit every potential situation in the city. And what this ordinance would address through the zoning is only parking on somebody's driveway. We have another ordinance that regulates parking in the streets, which is a maximum of 24 hours. So that's a whole nother discussion that maybe we would need to look at. But again, what we were trying to do with this amendment would try to address some of the questions that have come up of people wanting to be able to load and unload their motorhome in their driveway. And but this would not change the requirements as far as parking in a street for more than 24 hours. That's something that would have to be looked at as a separate item.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Mike, can I ask you a question, please? If we go back to the big motor home that was overextending the sidewalk, if that motor home was 3 feet shorter, or if that driveway was 3 feet longer, and I'm just estimating the feet there, would that be allowed?
It would be allowed with the proposed amendment.
So
be parked for 48 hours.
For 48 hours,
Yes.
Piece of machinery that large could be in a neighborhood for 48 hours.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you can't open your garage door and squeeze it in. And no.
No.
The intent is to be able to park it in your driveway.
Mike, I guess a follow-up question. I don't know if they make them longer than that, but if they do, and if a resident had a driveway longer than that so that it wouldn't overextend the sidewalk, there's no limitation to the length, to the size, to the height.
Correct.
Of a RV.
That's correct.
So you'd have a double-decker as well?
You might have problems getting.
If I'm a rock band?
Yeah, if it becomes more of a bus as opposed to an RV, I think that would be something that may exceed the definition of an RV. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. City Council, any questions or comments or any motions? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, when does the 48 hours start? When they park it or when a complaint comes in?
When they park it.
How are we going to know that?
Well, again, this is one of those that we're going to have to rely on the neighborhood that if somebody has a complaint, they're going to have to help document how long it's been sitting there. So we are going to continue to rely on the public to help us enforce this, just like we do now.
Mike, just a question on the enforcement again last year. And you said your enforcement last year was probably picked up because you were doing a lot more drive-bys. Is that right? Yourselves from an incident?
Well, two things. There was more proactive code enforcement.
Okay.
And then as we were discussing this at the council level about changing the ordinance, that created more media coverage, more public awareness, and actually generated more citizen comments to us about potential violations. So it was a combination of more proactive enforcement and more media coverage about what was or was not currently allowed. There you go. It's all yours now.
Yes, Councilor Jameson.
You can see by all the long faces that you're excited to address this item. But I want you to know where it started. It started with a citizen who called me and asked if why it seemed like it was a problem for him to park his RV in his own property. And I said, well, it shouldn't be a problem. And he explained his situation. He was trying to park it on the street. And it was a large motorhome like this. And there's a lot of safety reasons that isn't appropriate. And then he suggested the idea that maybe it only seemed reasonable that a RV be allowed to be parked at their home from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I said, well, that seems reasonable to me as well. I mean, it is the summer, and this is South Dakota. Our time is pretty limited. And I shared that discussion with my wife, and she didn't think that was a good idea. And I shared it with the rest of you, and you didn't think it was a good idea as well. So we came to 48 hours, and the 48 hours is a compromise. It's a way for us to just allow RVs to be used in our community, allow the citizens to enjoy that recreational activity, and to give some and take some, and allow 48 hours to load and unload. The guy who comes home at Sunday night at 9 o'clock at night after a great weekend has time to get out of it and actually unload his things, because as it was before, if it was over 22 feet long, he could not stop at his house, get out of it, drop his kids off. He couldn't even get in it at home. So this is meant just to create a little friendly cooperation between our RV owners and the city of Sioux Falls. So that's how we got to 48 hours. I think it's a good compromise. Still, parking over the sidewalk will not be allowed. It never was. We're not changing that. Parking in front of the house on the street is not going to be changed. That's not allowed if it's over 22 feet. If you don't have the room in your driveway, then it just doesn't work for you. Not everybody's going to have even this long of a driveway. So I think it works. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for enough that I think it's a good change to the ordinance. So I would look for your smiling faces to support this. Thank you.
Councilor Jameson, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Councilor Jameson has made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Entenmann.
There is a second by Councilor Entenmann. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I think the real moral of his story is he should listen to his wife more.
I'm working on that.
Sorry, Greg.
Councilor Brown, thank you. I hear no further discussion, so we will vote on this motion. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intamin,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 21.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2010-1207 to Chapter 15.45.070, Plan Development Districts, 1108 East 2nd Street, amending the Scooter Plan Development District Subarea Regulations. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a request to change the land uses that are permitted within an existing small development, which is currently located in the northwest corner of North Cliff Avenue and 2nd Street. This is a commercial building of approximately 4,500 square feet. It originally was approved for small motor vehicle sales not exceeding more than 400 cc's, hence the name Scooter Plan Development. The balance of the building, which is about 1,500 square feet, is currently used as a consignment store. Right now, the requested amendment would be to add allowable land use to include a proposed grocery store. The grocery store would take up approximately 3,000 square feet of the total building area. There are currently 15 off-street parking spaces on the site, which does meet the city zoning requirements for the total square footage of this building. The proposed use is being defined as a first immigrant grocery, which would be kind of an ethnic specialty grocery store for the Whittier neighborhood area. Again, this is modifying the land uses to allow groceries. It also specifies with this amendment that no alcohol, either on or off sale, would be allowed to be served or sold as part of this proposed land use amendment.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. If anyone in the audience would like to speak to this item? City Council, any questions, comments, motions?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Edmonds made a motion to approve, and it has been seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 22.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property east of the South Ellis Road and West 22nd Street intersection from the RS1 and RS2 residential districts to the RC Recreation Conservation District, petition number 2011-0101, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Mr. Cooper.
This is a petition on behalf of Ronning Enterprises Incorporated, the owner and developer of Memorial Park Estates, which is located northwest of Discovery Elementary School. The southern boundary of this rezoning is 22nd Street. It's approximately 5 acres of land. It's essentially an existing private drainage way that's being rezoned in conformance with the current land use.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? City Council, any comments, questions, motions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Thank you,
Second,
Councilor
Anderson.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 23.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Chapter 19 of the revised ordinances of the city by requiring family daycare homes to display most recent Health Department inspection.
Good evening, Jill Franken, Health Department Director. The Sioux Health Department has formalized our inspection process of family daycare homes, and item 23 is an ordinance that will require the posting of completed inspections of these family daycare homes. It also has 2 areas of language cleanup for consistency of calling them family daycare homes. At this time, inspections will be conducted for new daycares to include a pre-opening inspection, a post-opening unannounced inspection, as well as inspections that may result from an investigation or complaint of a daycare. These increased inspections will be budget neutral at this time. We do not anticipate any need for increased staff, FTEs for this. We have estimated that we'll do approximately 70 or so within the next year of these types of inspections. In addition, the Health Department will have an online search function available at the beginning of April where citizens can query daycare either by first and last name or by the registration number of that daycare to look up any inspections that have been completed for those daycares. And we are also partnering with the 211 helpline to offer a link to our website with them so that folks can go directly to that from the 211 helpline child care website. We received stakeholder input on this item specifically with no opposition to this item in requiring the posting of inspections, and we may have folks in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of this item tonight.
Jill, thank you. Are there folks in the audience who'd like to speak to this item tonight? Yes, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor, or afternoon, evening.
Great to have
wow,
you here.
the day's over. I'm Susan Randall with South Dakota Voices for Children and Mayor Huther, members of the council. I just wanted to commend the Health Department and the city for the approach they've taken to work with the daycare providers and to institute an inspection process. We think that it certainly strengthens the safety for children and it strengthens the ability of parents to find a safe location for their child. The other thing we really applaud is the decision to go to having the search function on the website and the partnership with 2-in-1, because that will, you can do it, but if it's under a bushel basket, it doesn't help the parents very much, and this will really help parents and create more transparency. So we really applaud the work you've done.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this item? City Council, any questions, comments, motions? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Got a couple questions. When doing these pre and post inspections, before the inspections are done, is there a list that's given to these daycares showing what you're going to be inspecting or what they should be looking for?
That's a really good question, Counselor. We will provide the information, a packet for new providers, but we also will have that posted on the website as well, and perhaps also with the letter that we're planning to send out can include a copy of the ordinance language specifically so they know what's required.
Okay. I've had a couple calls and people are saying that they weren't seeing a list and weren't quite sure of what was going to be inspected. Also, how many inspectors do you have to inspect daycares?
We have 2 inspectors that do that as part of their workload.
Are these 2 inspectors the same inspectors that do our restaurants? And
They are, but the reason we had one inspector that was doing this work with daycare specifically, and then we trained a second inspector, so we had a backup mechanism and additional support for that workload. We have right now 430-some daycares that we have registered with the city, and so in addition to doing the inspection, there's a lot of other functions that they provide and service they provide to those daycares. And so we, to assure that they're registered and complete that process as required. And so it does take 2 part-time part of their time to do that.
may I ask another? Also, what type of insurance is required for a daycare? Can they just get by with their homeowner's insurance, or are they required to get a business insurance?
I'm going to have Luann Ford answer that question. She's here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I am Luann Ford with the Health Department. Currently, we're not regulating insurance, and so there would be no requirement as far as city ordinance goes for insurance for a daycare provider. I would just encourage any provider to talk to their insurance agent to ask that question, because it is a legitimate question.
I was told that with a homeowner's insurance, it only allows up to 6 children. Is that something we can take a look at and maybe check with our insurance providers to see what limits are there for homeowners insurance to make sure that they're covered?
If you would like, yes. Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
City Council, would anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve Entenmann.
Second, Aguilar.
It's been a motion by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Aguilar to approve this second reading. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Thank you. This passed 7-0. Item 24.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations for a pass-through donation from Citibank South Dakota to the Sioux Empire Baseball Association to be used toward the construction of a grandstand at Harmadon Baseball Field. Citibank, $20,000.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. This is a pass-through donation of $20,000 from Citibank of South Dakota to Sioux Empire Baseball for the purpose of constructing the grandstands at Harmadon Park. Certainly want to take an opportunity to thank Citibank of South Dakota, Jerry Noctegal, who we worked with, and Sioux Empire Baseball for their efforts to make this project a reality. Lyle Smith, Executive Director with Sioux Empire Baseball, is here tonight in case you have any questions about the project itself. And would also just thank Sioux Empire Baseball and their Board of Directors. It seems like every year they come up with a project that they're willing to construct at our baseball complexes in Sioux Falls, and each and every year they seem to come up with a donation of some type to support Parks and Recreation and our facilities that we have available to the community. So once again, thanks to Citibank and to Lyle and his team at SEBA. I'd be glad to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Don. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Any questions of Don, City Council, or a motion?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you for making the motion, and it was seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any further questions or comments?
Comments.
Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
I think this is another great way to invest in our city parks. Thank you to the SEBA organization and Citibank for doing this. There's a lot of other nonprofits that also work with our Parks Department to make our parks what they are today, and this just is a great example of that.
Thank you very much. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Item 25.
A resolution authorizing the City of Sioux Falls to gift to Minnehaha County approximately 2,000 banquet chairs.
Again, Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. These are chairs that are being surplus from the convention center. The convention center, when that opened about 12 years ago, originally purchased 4,000 banquet chairs. And of course, over the years, they have worn out. And so these are the last of the original chairs that we are now surplusing. And we have been approached by Minnehaha County on behalf of the fairgrounds that would desire to use these chairs. The chairs were originally purchased for approximately $30 a piece, and we estimate the current value of about $1 per chair. We are in the process of buying new chairs, new banquet chairs for the convention center that will have a 15-year warranty, and we'll be purchasing approximately 4,000 chairs at a cost of about $157,000. So the price has gone up a little bit from what they were 12 years ago.
Anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? City Council, any questions? Council?
Move to approve, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any further questions or comments?
Once again, this just shows that if we work together, we can save money for the people and still utilize items that are still good.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. That's passed 7-0. Item 26, please.
A report of the February 25, 2011 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within major organizational units.
City Council, would somebody like to make a motion to approve?
So
No,
move,
no.
Anderson.
Oh, sorry. We don't? Let's move on. Okay, thank you. Item number 27, which was added to tonight. Item 27.
Special one-day malt beverage license for Siouxland Heritage Museums to be operated at the Old Courthouse Museum, 200 West 6th Street on March 17, 2011 for the St. Patrick's Day Family Dance, and authorize publication of notice on 3/4/11 to set the hearing date.
Yes, Ms. Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 27 is a walk-in item. It's a request to set a hearing date for Monday, March 14th. What transpired was the Siouxland Heritage Museum had a new events coordinator, and she was not aware of the time frame that was involved. And as a courtesy to the folks at the museum, we're requesting that the council allow this to be walked in, and we're just setting it for a hearing for next week. And this is a special one-day license. So,
thank you. Can I get a motion to approve that?
Move to approve, Entman.
Second, Erpenbach.
Then a motion by Councilor Entenmann, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach for item number 27. Any further discussion? Very good. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson.
Yes.
Thank you. And City Council, a great meeting tonight. A lot got accomplished for our great city. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Thank you, City Council, for your efforts. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, Sioux Falls.